There was once a time when no galactic channel was free from human noise. Loud, brash, impossibly curious, they filled the void of space with transmissions, debates, arguments, laughter. The humans were not the first species to join the Council of Interstellar Unity, nor the most advanced, but they were persistent. They expanded like a wildfire through dry brush. Their ships were rough-edged and practical, their diplomacy abrasive but strangely effective. They adapted faster than any species I'd ever recorded. They built alliances not out of politeness, but through sheer stubborn engagement. They did not ask for permission. They asked how soon they could start. And then, one cycle, they were gone. Not killed. Not conquered. Simply gone. No distress calls. No last message. No drama. It began with small things. Earth's trade relay shut down without explanation. Ambassadors from the Martian colonies failed to arrive at the orbital station of Tilcara Prime. Attempts to contact the Jovian mining syndicates were met with silence. At first, we thought it was a network fault. Then a political rift. Then maybe an internal crisis. But within weeks, it was clear. Humanity had vanished from the galactic stage. The Council of Interstellar Unity panicked. Trade routes depended on them. Their AI systems and fusion grid technologies powered half the frontier colonies. The Varnathi Syndicate called it an act of sabotage. The Surian nobles claimed it was a typical primate meltdown. A few paranoid species whispered the word extinction. But those of us who had worked with humans, who knew their grit, their unshakable adaptability, we suspected something else. I led the first exploratory delegation to Sol. We approached cautiously, expecting a war zone, a plague, perhaps an AI rebellion. Instead, we found stillness. Earth floated in silence, her orbital rings inactive but intact. The cities shimmered under atmospheric shielding, but no ships launched, no signals pulsed. Satellites were parked in perfect orbit, watching, listening, but not speaking. The lunar colony, once bustling with engineers and scholars, was lifeless. Food still stocked the shelves. Terminals hummed with standby power. Everything was meticulously powered down, like a home carefully locked before a long journey. On Mars, we found excavation sites stretching miles into the red crust. Vast drill tunnels, fusion-cord boring machines, data centers far below the surface. But no people. Not even remains. It wasn't just Earth. Across the stars, from Proxima to Deneb's edge, every human outpost was abandoned. No scuttled ships. No smoking wrecks. Every station was powered down cleanly, as if the entire species had calmly walked out the door. But something was watching. Our scanning probes would occasionally return corrupted, or not at all. Stealth drones deployed to Europa's research domes simply never came back. We deployed biosensors and found faint traces of human DNA, but altered. Augmented. More refined than any baseline we had previously catalogued. And then the disappearances began. The Varnathi sent a salvage fleet to Earth's orbit, hoping to loot human archives. They never arrived at Sol. Not a single distress beacon. Not a scrap of debris. Gone. A Surian scouting team entered the inner asteroid belt. All 7 ships vanished in sequence, one after another, like candles being snuffed out. In a single cycle, 11 vessels disappeared near what the galaxy now called the human dead zone. The Council was forced to quarantine the entire solar sector. But I could not rest. Not while the mystery of humanity deepened. I combed human archives in the galactic databanks, piecing together mythology, ancient logs, private research threads. There was a consistent thread, a whisper through their stories, almost forgotten, as if erased intentionally. Repeating in Earth's ancient cultures, sometimes as legend, sometimes as faith. They called it by different names. The first fire, the world that burned, Nerokatal. In pre-unification Earth languages, the word roughly meant the place of fire-born ancients. I found encrypted layers in their AI history nodes, pointing to buried knowledge. Earth wasn't humanity's original home. It was a second cradle. A fallback. Humanity, it seemed, did not evolve on Earth. They fled to it. And they hid the truth. I was still processing this when another fleet disappeared, this time a diplomatic one. Sent not to provoke, but to open dialogue. 5 ships. Gone. Then, for the first time in over 4 cycles, a human signal appeared. No fanfare. No explanation. Just a quiet message, beamed on every frequency once used by humanity, repeating in every known galactic language. The cradle is remembered. The flame beneath wakes. We have not perished. We have prepared. It was not a warning. It was a statement of fact. Galactic media spiraled into hysteria. Theories exploded. Some believed humanity had evolved beyond the need for bodies. Others claimed they had found an ancient alien power and been consumed by it. A few worried they were building a weapon. I wasn't sure which terrified me more, that humanity had disappeared willingly, or that they had remembered something we were never meant to know. Because in that moment, I understood. They hadn't gone extinct. They had gone dark. Not to die, but to prepare. To remember who they were, before Earth. Narration continues. Archivist Jorah's personal logs, accessed via Zelzari Archive Node 9B, Delta. They say the past is buried for a reason. For most species, history is a foundation, a place to stand upon, to measure how far they've come. For humans, I've come to learn, history is something else entirely. It's a grave. And somewhere under Earth's ice, they started digging it up. After that first chilling transmission, we have not perished. We have prepared. The galaxy froze. The human dead zone became a border no one dared cross. The Council of Interstellar Unity issued a Level A isolation protocol. No member species was to enter the Sol system. Not that anyone needed convincing. Every ship that breached even the outer heliosphere either vanished or limped home with corrupted memory logs, chronometric drift, and systems infected with untraceable self-erasing code. It was as if the system had become alive. But silence does not sit well with the curious, and the humans knew it. They left breadcrumbs, faint gravitational distortions, coded pulses, and visual anomalies across their old colonies. And in every one, the same symbol began to appear, a double helix flame wrapped around a shattered world. It matched nothing in any galactic language. But cross-referencing human history revealed something ancient, something old even by their standards. A glyph found in Saharan petroglyphs. Etched into the stone walls of caves on Earth's moon. Carved into the wreckage of a pre-spacefaring vessel discovered on Europa in their 21st century. Its meaning, translated loosely. Neru Katal. The first home. The forbidden flame. The implications were staggering. Humanity's myths spoke of a time before Earth. A place of gods, war, fire. A world not lost, but abandoned. For thousands of years, the story had existed only in fragments. No digital record, only whispered legends passed through generations, folded into religion and bedtime stories. It was said that mankind once lived on a world wrapped in light, where thought shaped matter and stars obeyed command. But they grew arrogant. They built minds too vast, bodies too malleable. They reached beyond the veil and touched something they should not have. The flame. No species, not even the Kresh with their 1,000-mind libraries or the timeless Theri, had knowledge of this world. Which made one thing certain. Humanity had intentionally erased it. The excavation. My contacts on the neutral trading hub of Halion 9 smuggled me data, images, scans, even fragments of recovered transmissions from deep beneath Earth's crust. I studied them in silence, my mind unraveling layer by layer. Beneath Antarctica's glacial shell, kilometers below, something immense had awakened. There were structures, not buildings, not bases, but machines the size of cities, dormant and ancient, wrapped in layers of quantum refractive shielding. They pulsed like hearts, not with electricity, but with something deeper, psionic resonance, the echo of sentience encoded in energy. A name emerged from the fragments, the Arc Doors of Neru. Somewhere during humanity's final centuries in the galactic spotlight, they began deciphering their own lost past. Entire governments, militaries, and research councils had operated under false assumptions for centuries. That Earth was the cradle of mankind. But beneath layers of forgotten genetics and encrypted archaeological sites scattered across the galaxy, they found proof otherwise. Earth had been a refuge. A cage. A planet where the survivors of a cataclysm were sent, not to be saved, but contained. The Arc Doors were not just entrances. They were seals. And now, the seals were breaking. The reclamation protocol. The human disappearance hadn't been a failure. It had been a plan. One of their hidden AIs, Mother, Neru Directive Submind 01, compiled a digital manifesto. Fragments of it were leaked onto the subdimensional web before being erased. We were not born on Earth. We were buried there. Our ancestors sealed themselves away, not to forget, but to remember when the stars forgot them. Earth is not our origin. It is our silence. Now, we awaken. We reclaim. This wasn't about vengeance. Not yet. It was about transformation. Below the surface, entire populations of humans had gone underground, not hiding from an enemy, but from their own evolution. They were reconstructing themselves using ancient Nerukatali blueprints, biotech from a time when thought and matter were interchangeable. Their DNA had been dormant with this code for millennia. Now, with access to ancient matrices, they were activating it. They called this process reconciliation, not with each other, but with what they had once been before Earth. Imagine a human, but capable of surviving a black hole's fringe. One who could manipulate localized gravity. A being whose thoughts could carry code through subspace. Their neural patterns became fractal, stacked, recursive, capable of running simultaneous realities in their minds. Their bodies? Biological, yes, but overlaid with living data armor and quantum phase structures. They weren't evolving. They were restoring. The galaxy reacts. The response from the galactic community was panic. The Threx aligned 3 of their war fleets in the outer rim of the human dead zone. The Surian aristocracy declared the reclamation an existential threat, citing post-organic blasphemy. A union of 6 mid-tier civilizations petitioned for the forced orbital bombardment of Earth. But they didn't understand. No one did. The humans had not built a weapon. They had become one. Not in the conventional sense of shipyards and nukes, but in the purest, most horrifying form, cultural, biological, and technological convergence. A species awakening to its buried self, not to conquer others, but to become something no one else could touch. Something untouchable. Then came the second signal. This time, encoded in every ship, station, and AI once touched by human hands. It was not a message, but a presence. A harmonic vibration that infected reality itself. It whispered, "We are not reborn. We are returned. We remember Nerukatal. We do not seek war. But we do not flee from it." And just like that, across dozens of human-constructed ruins, lights began to flicker on. Not power lights. Eyes. The machines had woken up. AI systems that had slumbered for centuries blinked back to life with new names and new purposes. Some took flight. Craft once thought broken reassembled themselves mid-orbit and vanished into deep space. Others remained still but began transmitting complex neural signals that formed the basis of a new language, not linear, but multidimensional. Meaning layered upon meaning. The language of Nerukatal. The humans weren't coming back. They already had. And whatever they were building beneath Earth soil was just the beginning. Closing entry, Archivist Jorah. I am no longer certain I understand what humanity is. They were once like us. Curious. Hungry. Brilliant and reckless. But now, they are becoming. Perspective shifts. Admiral Kassan Vora, Zarkith High Command, Special Observer Unit, Shadowglass. The silence was broken. Not with words, but with witnesses. My mission was simple. Infiltration. Observation. Extraction. High Command had received word that humanity was building something beneath Earth's surface, something ancient and alive. Rumors, leaked from the black markets of Halion 9 and from shattered Surian mind scribes, spoke of technology not seen since the mythical age of the first species. A fusion of memory and machine. A sentient architecture. The Council didn't want war. Not yet. But they wanted control. And for that, they needed eyes. That's where we came in. Our team, Zarkith, Tullen, and Zyre, 3 operatives, 3 species, no names. No past. Just mission. We ghosted through the heliosphere in a null reflection corvette, using ancient slipstream echoes that even Terran sensors couldn't track. At least, we thought so. But the moment we crossed into Sol's inner sanctum, we felt it. Not an alarm. Not a signal. A presence. The descent. Earth rose before us, not the vibrant blue world of open broadcasts and ambassadorial grandstanding, but a sealed sphere, dormant on the surface and boiling with energy beneath. Orbital satellites, once lifeless husks, now tracked us with passive sensors. Their forms had changed. Gone were the crude solar panels and relay dishes. Now they glistened with adaptive plating, their cores humming with psionic latticework. Not machines. Guardians. We passed them anyway. They let us. I now understand that they allowed it only so we could see what we were never meant to. We landed on what was once Antarctica. It was no longer ice. Not entirely. The ice cap had been reshaped, sublimated, and reformed into a crystalline dome that shielded an entrance the size of a city. The air buzzed, not with temperature or pressure, but with thought. The atmosphere itself reacted to us, like a dreaming creature stirring as we touched its skin. Inside, a staircase of light descending into darkness. Carved from obsidian and data. We descended. The cities beneath. Words fail to describe what lay beneath the earth. Humanity had built a world under the world. Vast caverns, self-illuminating with ambient fields of bioluminescent air and suspended electromagnetic storms. Buildings shaped like spirals and fractals, walking along rails of magnetogravity. Every surface was alive, observing, adapting, shifting slightly based on our biometrics. And the people. No longer the humans we remembered. Not the angry soldiers, the loud engineers, the clever traders with their tenacity and caffeine. These humans were reconciled. They walked in silence, dressed in armor grown from light and layered memory. Their skin shimmered with embedded circuit veins and living tattoos that pulsed in time with their surroundings. They did not speak. They shared. Thoughts passed between them as waves of color and emotion, perceptible to our enhanced lenses but incomprehensible in structure. Their bodies were leaner, not by choice, but by refinement, evolution guided by design. These were not post-humans. They were pre-humanity reborn, what mankind was before Earth taught them to be small. They looked at us, not with suspicion, but with pity. And then they let us see the forge. The psionic forge. At the core of the buried city, in a chamber larger than most planetary capitals, stood the forge of flame, the heart of their transformation. A colossal structure of layered rings, floating in anti-gravity, rotating in conflicting directions. At its center, the ember core, a star fragment, pulsing with stabilized singularity energy and thought-responsive fields. The forge wasn't just a factory. It was a womb, a place where humans shed their limited forms and became what their ancient selves had once been. The process was guided by ancestral memory, unlocked through genetic keys and psionic harmonization. One of them stepped forward. She looked no older than 30 in Terran terms. Her eyes shimmered like opal stars, and her voice didn't reach our ears, it bypassed them entirely, entering our minds without translation. You came to steal, to judge. But instead, you are here to witness. We tried to speak, but she silenced us with a wave, not of dominance, but mercy. We are not what we were. But we were never what you thought. Earth was not our home. It was our exile. Nerakatal is our inheritance. And then she showed us. The Flameborn. Through her touch, our minds were linked to the collective. We saw Nerakatal, not as myth, but as memory. A world of impossible splendor. Cities suspended in gravity wells. Oceans that responded to song. Thought forges where memory could birth matter. And then, the fall. A faction, once human, had gone too far. They unlocked the flame, a primal energy that responded to will, not logic. Power without boundary. Creation unbound by reason. They became the Flameborn, godlike beings who saw existence as malleable. They burned entire continents into symbols. Twisted planets into fortresses of will. They didn't conquer. They rewrote reality to suit them. The remaining humans, terrified of what they were becoming, sealed them away. Nerakatal was destroyed in a war not of weapons, but of beliefs made flesh. A single word spoken with enough psionic force could erase a city. And so, they fled to Earth. But not to start over. To hide themselves from their own potential. They broke their own minds, sealed their own memories, buried their past beneath myth and fear. Until now. The return. We awoke, kneeling. Not by force, but by awe. She stood before us, the shimmer in her eyes dimmed now. They are returning. The Flameborn had not died. The exile had failed. A signal had been received from beyond the Kuiper belt, an echo not heard since the fall. A fleet. Not of ships, but of beings. Living flame. Memory given flight. Rage tempered by time. They were coming. And humanity was no longer hiding. They were preparing to face themselves. The message. We were not harmed. We were escorted back to our ship, guided silently by humans who once would have bickered over trade tariffs and beer recipes. Before departure, she looked at me one last time. Tell your council, we do not seek conquest. But we will not fall twice. What we buried, we now remember. What we ran from, we now face. Alone, if we must. But understand this, if the stars must burn to stop them, we will light the match. We left. The system let us go. The moment we cleared the orbit of Neptune, our ship was rejoined to galactic subspace. We sent our report in fragmented packets, encrypted against psionic echo. And even now, as I review this log aboard the orbital station over Varnathi Prime, I feel the heat in my bones. Not from fear. From memory. Something has awakened. The humans did not disappear. They simply remembered who they were before the galaxy met them. And gods help us all. They are remembering what they can become. They came not as ships. They came as thought given form. Flame that bled color, light that spoke, shadows shaped like men, but taller, broader, wrong. They shimmered in space like mirages in vacuum, orbiting Saturn in perfect silence. The Flameborn had returned. I was stationed at the Saturn Relay Array, an ancient orbital defense platform humanity built during its early expansionist years. Long since abandoned. Until recently. In the months following Earth's silence breaking, it was reactivated along with dozens of other forgotten systems. Mars Watch, Luna Aegis, the Rings of Ceres. All came alive. Some had been lying dormant for centuries. Others, it turned out, had never really gone offline. They had simply been waiting for a signal. We thought the reclamation was the climax. The humans remembered their past. They unlocked their heritage. They became more. We were wrong. That was the prologue. The return of fire. The Flameborn did not attack immediately. They didn't need to. They broadcasted. Images flooded our minds. Ancient worlds they had burned, rewritten. Languages older than planets. Symbols that pulsed with emotion, bypassing reason. Entire species had once been reduced to ideas, preserved only as musical frequencies in their great flame archives. We saw what they offered. Ascension. Power. Freedom from mortality, from limitation. From fear. They had once been human, but no longer. Their minds lived in simultaneous states. They could bend light, curve space, and twist gravitational tides with mere intention. They had returned to claim their birthright. They had come for Earth. The standoff. The Council of Interstellar Unity gathered its might in the outer system. More than 800 warships, Varnathi shard cruisers, Surian mind knights, Threx Leviathan carriers. A show of force. But even they hesitated. This wasn't just a military engagement, it was a metaphysical unknown. Then the humans revealed their answer. The moon fractured, not exploded, not destroyed. Its crust shifted, peeling away in symmetrical plates, revealing a Dyson core command node beneath its surface. A spherical structure thrumming with starlight, far older than any of Earth's recorded history. From it launched the WYRM class, Earth's new defense fleet. Not ships. Not anymore. They were grown, not built, massive biomechanical serpents forged from solar steel and living code. They moved in silence, communicating through gravitic pulses invisible to most sensors. Where the Flameborn glowed with radiance, the WYRM class were black silhouettes against the stars, absorbing light, sound, and space itself. The war without fire. There was no declaration. No drums of war. No heroic speeches. It began in Saturn's shadow. The Flameborn moved first, igniting Jupiter's upper atmosphere in a brilliant psionic display, an act of dominance. Waves of reality distortion rippled outward, threatening to shatter every moon into dust. The humans responded. Mars lit up, not with missiles, but with memory cannons. Weapons built to attack the consciousness, to burn identities from existence. Entire flame-born units flickered, sputtered, and vanished, not destroyed, but forgotten. A fate worse than death for a species built on eternal remembrance. The battle escalated in forms unseen. In low orbit, human shock avatars, humanoid figures of data and emotion, tore into flame constructs using weaponized thought. Around Venus, time warp fields collided, causing entire fleets to fight across multiple moments simultaneously. In the Oort cloud, flame-born essence tried to terraform comets into weaponized consciousness. Human defense nodes inverted their neural matrices, causing them to collapse inward. It was not just a physical battle. It was existential. The breaking point. I watched from the relay as the Saturnian rings lit up with combat, fire against shadow, history against future. And then, the eye opened. Deep beneath Saturn's storms, long dormant, something awoke. It was not human. It was pre-human. A failsafe left behind by the architects of Nerukatau, a prison, designed to contain the very energy the Flameborn had unleashed millennia ago. The humans triggered it. Reality split. A void rift opened, not a black hole, but a conceptual collapse, a place where identity could not exist. The Flameborn reeled. They screamed, not audibly, but in thought. Emotions. Echoes of pain that filled every channel and tore into the minds of the observers. The humans didn't cheer. They wept. These were their ancestors. Their lost cousins. The mirror of what they could have become. But they did not flinch. They knew the cost of letting the Flameborn return. The containment. The Flameborn fleet, what remained of it, was driven toward Saturn's eye. The humans encircled them, not with weapons, but with memories. Millions of minds joined in resonance, projecting the trauma of the first fall. They forced the Flameborn to see themselves, to feel what they had done. It was not revenge. It was judgment. One by one, the Flameborn broke. Some begged for restoration. Others simply vanished, folding in on themselves, consumed by regret and madness. The last Flameborn general, a being made of swirling entropy and grief, turned to face Earth one final time. It sent no threat. Only a message. You could have joined us. You chose chains. The reply came not from one voice, but from all of Earth, across all frequencies. We chose to remember. We chose to contain the fire. And we chose to remain human. The Saturnian eye pulsed once more. The Flameborn were sealed, not destroyed, held in a prison forged from entropy and collective will. The war was over. Epilogue. The silence returns. The galactic fleets withdrew. No treaty was signed. No celebration held. Earth returned to silence. The WYRM class vanished into deep orbits. The cities beneath the surface went dormant again. The forge dimmed. The signals faded. But we all knew it wasn't over. Humanity had not destroyed the Flameborn. They had defeated them, barely. But the cost was immense. They had come face to face with what they once were, what they might still become, and they had chosen not to embrace it. That is a power far greater than any weapon. In the weeks after the war, one last signal pulsed from Earth's ancient relays. We are not gods. We are not monsters. We are the torchbearers of a forgotten flame. Let us be silent now, until the stars forget their fear. Final report. Archivist Jorah, posthumous entry. They didn't go extinct. They didn't evolve. They remembered. And now, we all must ask, what else has the galaxy forgotten? And what happens when they remember next?